Hey guys, it's Jason from hardmoneybankers.com with your HMB show. Today, got a very special guest in studio that's going to be sitting right next to me. His name is Younes. He went from being a media personality to finally taking the plunge into starting his own business and becoming an entrepreneur. You're going to learn a ton of stuff today, especially all you new entrepreneurs. Check it out right now. Special guest in studio sitting next to me, Younes.
Hey, bud.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How are you? Good to be on this side of the camera.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I should be taking lessons from you today since you have more experience on this than I do.
Yep.
Okay, so Glenn, in like 30 seconds, just give us a quick breakdown of who you are, where you came from.
I come from America. No, I come from Montgomery County like you. We were childhood best friends, best man at my wedding. Thank you, brother. And so as young as maybe 8 years old, I think I knew I wanted to be in radio and media. Used to do prank calls, as you're well aware of, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Calling the 800 number off the back of a cereal box at 10, 12 years old, 7-Elevens as we know, and all that.
Some jerky boy skits.
Some jerky boy skits. We used to do it all as we were kids growing up. And so, always knowing that I wanted to be in media and in front of the camera and in front of the microphone. So I went to school for that, majored in communications at East Carolina, worked in TV and radio down there, came back home to DC in 2001 after graduating college, worked for Clear Channel in DC, Sports Talk, or ESPN 980 is what it's called now. It's the DC sports station. Worked for head coach John Thompson, the former Georgetown head coach, producing his radio show, producing Caps and Wizards games and all that good stuff. Then I got a job producing a national radio show at Fox Sports Radio, left the industry for a couple years from there, had a national radio show at Sirius XM where I was for 5 years. That was a really dynamic, interesting development in my career because I was able to cover all sports, be on the air nationally, go through a major merger when Sirius and XM merged, and going through the recession during all that. It was really an interesting scenario. And then at the end of 2011, summer into fall, I was courted by, it was courted a couple years prior, but by CBS in Baltimore, decided to take their offer, come up to Baltimore, spent 4 seasons, did Ravens pregame for them, had my own evening radio show, ended up having top ratings towards the end of my career. And then I left at the very end of 2014 to open a bunch of new businesses and lines of interest for myself. And thank you to you for being a mentor and a guidance through all these years of that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Pretty impressive resume so far.
Yep.
But the magic thing that we all want to know is, he took his previous lifestyle, media, TV, entertainment,
yep.
and we're going to see exactly where he's taken that into the life of a business owner,
sure.
into an entrepreneur. 2 different lifestyles, right?
Very.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody can agree that's watching this or listening to this that it's extremely impressive, what he's done so far. So, time will tell. And, what I really want to dig in today is what's occurred over the last year or so since you kind of took the plunge into entrepreneurship and things like that. And I've always had 3 kind of defining moments as a business or as an entrepreneur that we're going to go over in a second throughout the show. But the first one is, number 1, you got to have the balls and take the plunge to do it.
Dude, that's it. I mean,
and that's the hardest part.
And my personality. I'm a very aggressive, outgoing person. But when it comes to that, I'm super,
Sure.
I'm very... scared, I don't think is the word. Timid might be the word in business. Certainly conservative. Like, my personality would skew that I'm a big gambler, but I'm not. I'm very conservative when it comes to money. I'm very conservative when it comes to taking a risk in life. And that has to go with background stuff about, family and whatever else. But I'm very conservative. So I was scared to death for years, as you know, to quote unquote, leave my comfortable radio job. I was making okay money. I certainly wasn't making killer money. Like, that just never happened in my career. Was I on the brink of it? Maybe. But
Sure.
It was taking too long, as you know, and at some point I had to say my time and my value to the world is worth more than what I'm making in the media, on camera, on the mic, and I had to take the plunge. And it took me probably too long to do it because of my fear.
What do you think is the number 1 thing, go back a year or so ago, that you remember that says, like, it's just one thing that's stuck in your head that says, I remember this specifically, exactly how it happened, and this is the exact reason, or the one time that I finally knew that I need to do this?
It had been building. I don't want to say it's one thing, especially where this airs, and I'll put it on my Facebook. I don't want to give away too much information because I don't want to look like I'm bashing any sort of media outlet or anything like that, because that's not the case at all.
Sure.
This is something that had been building over the years. And I think for me, what it was is advancement's always been, no matter how comfortable or conservative I've been, advancement has always been a huge deal for me. And if I don't see that there's an advancement, I will rock and roll that day and move. I need to always be moving forward, or else I'm out of there. Like, no matter how much or little money or how much or little exposure I was getting, if I wasn't advancing, I had to rock and roll. And I realized that status quo wasn't good enough for me, and that's when it was. And who knows, maybe it was a year before I took the plunge, but it was, oh my God, I'm sort of staying stable. That doesn't work for me. I need to advance. I got to get out.
Yeah, so you had your mindset, you finally were like, enough is enough, I'm putting a date on it, or
For sure.
I'm mentally prepared for it. You know, maybe you have your ducks in the row down the road.
That's exactly.
Most people don't. You know, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of risks that go into this. You have a young family, or newer family, and you know, it's a hard decision to make. And you were in the mid-30s when that happened.
That's right.
And a lot of, you know, when you're in your 20s, it's a little bit easier than your 30s and your 40s and your 50s.
And my now wife, then fiance, is a W-2 worker, has a great job and an incredible career. And she's like, well, we're stable. What are you doing? Like, why would you change anything? And I get that from that standpoint. From my standpoint, it's like, I'm built for bigger. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's an honest assessment of who we are as people. And I think that's an important piece of entrepreneurs. I know that I'm built for bigger. I know what I'm capable of when I'm having a non-insecure or conservative moment. And so I was like, I gotta rock and roll. And to your point, instead of just going, oh, I need more, I'm out of here, whatever the out of here was, I made sure I set something up for at least a year or so that if I made $0 more than what I was already about to make and had planned for, then I was okay. And so, I put a plan in place.
Exactly.
Scared to death. I was scared to death, and still am sometimes, but it is what it is.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So that was the first key moment, taking the plunge and finally doing it. So the second key moment in entrepreneurship and owning a business is getting to a place that you feel comfortable and confident and have cash flow coming in on a regular basis. So, that could be, and it's very hard as a new entrepreneur to stay hyper-focused and super consistent on exactly what you want to do and exactly what makes you money. I heard a good quote from an old mentor that we had, that when we wanted to jump into his mastermind program, he said, well, our goal is to get you to the fastest path to cash. Right? So this key moment, this number 2 key moment, is figuring out the fastest cash to path to cover all of your expenses, to cover all of your overhead, to replace your existing income, and get to a place that you are hyper-focused and exactly where you want to be. And instead of chasing around all this shiny objects, which is very difficult to, you're always,
especially for a hyper person like me.
Well, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs are ADD. I mean,
that's part of it.
That's part of
the makeup.
And I remember when we started Hard Money Bankers in 2007, we were chasing around, are we doing residential stuff, commercial stuff, larger stuff, this stuff, buying notes, and it took us a long time to understand exactly what our wheelhouse is and to stick with that.
Well, I'll tell you, for me, that chasing the money and getting the money piece was extra difficult for me because I had my creative hat on for so long. And as you know, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Everybody in my family owns their own business. Mom, stepdad, dad, stepmom, grandfather, everybody. So that part you'd think it'd become natural to me, but where I saw the most issue in my own development is I never wanted to be a burden or a tug on anybody. That's the only child, single mother stuff where it's like, I got this, I'm on my own, I'm good. So where I had an issue was asking for money, selling. I knew I could sell. I did it for a short stint when I left radio for a couple years, but I never enjoyed it because I thought I was manipulating people out of their money, even though I wasn't. That's just my insecurity. So for me, the money piece, finding how to cover your bills, that was sort of easy because I keep a lean life. I don't have any debt. My wife and I, we save, we're cheap, or certainly frugal. But it was asking for money and figuring out how to go get client work, whether it's in social or PR or marketing or media. And I still do some stuff on the air as well. But for me, that money part was difficult, and going like, hey, I can help you. Okay, great, help me. It's like, how much do you charge? I'm like, oh, I have to charge you? And it's like, I have to bill you? I'm weird about money. Can you just magically appear, magic wand in my account? It doesn't work that way, Glenn. You got to be an adult and ask for the money. people who are about business want to do business with you, and it took me, and it's still taking me a while to sort that out because I never wanted to be a burden or ask anybody for anything, and that's my own stuff.
Yeah, and I think most entrepreneurs in general get stuck at this defining moment to begin with. You know, they don't exactly know what their niche is, where they're focused.
Well, where your value is too. Like, you know, it's also an insecurity just in general of like, how do I bring somebody else value? Okay, that's one thing. And then how do I ask them to pay me what I think I'm valued at?
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough.
And that goes with confidence. And that goes with, you know, your wheelhouse and understanding exactly who you are. And if you're doing agency work, this is what I demand.
That's right.
And it's hard to say take it or leave it when you really need it.
Yeah. Can't tell them that.
Yeah. I mean, on our end, it's, you know, these are our terms. If this works, great. If not, that's fine too.
Well, for you guys in your business model and me and you know, being able to have a lean life and save and you know, I'm not going to fully get into my financials, but there is sort of a power in being like, I don't really need that deal, or I don't really need you as a client. Like, there is a power in that. And once I realized, like, I'm not gonna starve, like, we got money, we're okay.
Yeah.
And we'll get into maybe on another episode the real estate that I own and all the other things that I do, running a foundation and blah, blah, blah. So there's money coming. I don't wanna draw this doomsday, but like, there's a power. Fake it till you make it, right? Like, there's, and for me, I'm not able to fake it, I'm just not that good, but the power in realizing, oh wait, the floor's not gonna fall out, the roof isn't gonna cave, like I'm gonna be able to feed my family, we have a roof, we can pay our mortgages and all that stuff. Like, there's a power in not begging for business.
Agreed, but you're right about that, but also keep in mind for everybody watching, you know, coming from his previous gig of where he was at, you know, it's only the, you know, top few guys that are ultra making tons and tons of money.
Bucks a year,
I mean, it wasn't like you had a residual trail of income that's following you and you had, you know, whatever coming in. I mean, you were starting from well, I'm used to making this amount of money every month. This month, that's a zero number until I start making it.
For sure.
So, you know, it's not as glorious and glamorous as, you know, it may sound. So, and I do believe that a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck at this, you know, they just, over the years they're in, they just can't either find exactly niche to exactly where they're at in order to scale, or they're just kind of in a dead end type of business that it's just not scalable.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it's not scalable. They're not doing the proper things to scale it. Meaning going after new product lines or automating this so they can work on other stuff. They're stuck in the business.
They built themselves a job.
Yeah.
And that they become, and you guys taught me this, you and Chris, your business partner taught me this, is they become the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to be an entrepreneur, and it's good to run your own thing, and it's good to own your own business, but you also have to get out of your own way and know what you're an expert at and what you can offshoot to other people, because there's only so much bandwidth one human has, no matter if they're superhuman or not. And that's what I'm learning in my ventures and starting different businesses and doing these things that we're all doing.
And you do need to try everything. You do need to try everything. You need to learn it, because how are you going to how are you going to help other people, you know, do that if you can't manage them? But, you know, back in the day,
and if you haven't done it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you don't know what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And back in the day, like Chris and I always talk about, Chris was out there cutting checks, not printing checks, handwriting checks, because we didn't have automation, we didn't have an accountant or controller.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was answering every phone, running every lead, processing every deal. You know, that's just what we had to do until we grew. And if we were continuing to do that today, we'd be at the exact same spot we were at 7 years ago.
Was that the snowball will save
part of it. Yeah. Different
like that free plug of the whiteboard book?
That's right.
Amazon, check it out.
Okay, so number 3 moment in business, which I do believe is the hardest one, but it's the rewarding one, is when you get to the point that you have the constant cash flow coming in all the time, you're covering all your expenses, you're putting some money away, and you can actually start concentrating on bigger ticket
growth,
things. You can go after more opportunities, you can attract bigger fish, you can venture off into new businesses, you can expand your product line. You cannot do any of these until you are completed stage 2. You just can't. You don't have the money, you need to stay hyper focused in that. But as soon as you get to the point that all your bills are getting covered, the cash flow is there, the confidence is there, that you know that you go after stage 3, the bigger fish, and you fail, because you will fail going after them, and you may, you know, have in your mind that you're going to get this big account or this big real estate deal that you're going to flip, and you can't count on that money for coming in, because it won't come in every time. That's when you can go out and do it.
So I think that's a huge piece. For me, I think I invert 2 and 3 because of the way I manage my money, even though I was scared to death, because that's just my nature. I was somewhat covered on the money piece, at least covering the bills and have stuff coming in and like wife not, where's the money? What are we doing? You know, that part was covered for me. For me, it was the confidence piece. And you mentioned it again. And so for me, I had to go, okay, let me rewind, because you and Chris, I will say, about a year ago said, you know, something to this effect. I'm going to paraphrase. Glenn, you're a top level individual. You got to start thinking bigger. And when you get your confidence up, you're able to go shooting at the targets that you need to be shooting at. And so because I knew that once I got accustomed to being on my own and a bucket of money would come from this avenue and a bucket of money would come from this avenue and how to allocate it and spread it out through the year, once I figured that out, like internally, not actually bills, the bills are fine, but internally, then I was able to go, okay, how can I go get a huge client? And I have a partner that I do some of that high-end stuff. And you know what? We have an opportunity to go for big deals, and sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't. But now I'm able to go big game hunting because I've got all that other stuff. And we're not going to...
And if that occurred in a year, that's good.
And in that world, you don't get everything. So if you're sitting here going, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm great and Glenn and Jason are right and I'm going to go big game hunting, I'm going to get settle down.
Yeah,
you don't get every one of those deals. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, the real easy test is if you go spend, you know, a month on a big project and you're not going to make $1 from it, you know, behind the scenes in your home office or at your store or in your business, if things are continuing to grow, or not even grow, stay stable,
that's a great point.
And you're making money, whatever that is, $5,000 a month, whatever. Right. I mean, that's up to you exactly what it needs to be. Right. Knowing that I'm going to go after this big client because I know I can, you know, it'll double my business.
Well, and it allows you, because the home front's stable, home front, business front, whatever you want to call it,
it has to be stable before you do this.
Exactly.
As soon as you start deferring from that, I mean, there was times that, you know, Chris and I wanted to get real heavy into more internet marketing stuff, and you know, we put less attention to hard money bankers, and it just stayed there stagnant. And the money kept coming in from that, but we were spending the wrong focus on the wrong things. It made zero sense.
The experiment phase too.
True. So, but also, you know, you need to understand these 3 moments, and I strongly believe, just from, you know, being around a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of real estate investors, that a lot of people are stuck in 2. You know, they're creating a good lifestyle for themselves. They're in financially, they're in a fine place. They're working from themselves instead of somebody else. Yep. But they're not automated. They're not growing. They're not putting systems in place. They're not getting over that hump that they can get the confidence of
that's a great point.
Moving into stage 3.
That's a great point. And I will say, and this is not just because you're my BFF, but what you and Chris have done and continue to do with my entrepreneurial development is, I can't put a value on that. And as you know, we talk privately. I'll do it in front of the camera, embarrass you. Thank you very much, because without that guidance, I don't know how far advanced I'd be. And I feel like my learning curve in general, because of how I am, is shorter than others. But you guys shrunk that down into such a small, palatable pill for me to take every day and learn it and digest it, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And it's an ongoing learning experience for everybody. Yeah. I mean, we're learning every day. We're reading more. We're learning from mistakes. We're learning from, you know, positive actions and things like that. Cool. So do you want to plug a few, your laser focused things, the 1 or 2 things that you're focusing on right now?
I'm focusing on everyone subscribing to the REI 360 show.
Okay.
And the podcast investing show, or whatever the heck the show is. Listen, I will just say, follow me on Twitter. I am at GUnitRadio. And other than that, thank you guys for the opportunity to chat about entrepreneurship, because quietly we're dorks about it.
Yeah, no, we're
not so quietly for you.
No, we're serious about it. I mean, real estate's the businesses that we're involved in, but we're really passionate about entrepreneurship and growing businesses and
growing our community too, like our family. I mean, you and Chris talk about it in many different episodes, and I know we're going long here, but whatever. I think it's good stuff. You know, it's that whole analogy of an airplane, and I flew to Toronto yesterday, and they're giving the whole thing, and I always think about that, and here I am back today. Is the oxygen mask. They tell you, put your oxygen mask on first and then help others. And you talk about being selfish in business to be able to help others. If you're not thriving, you can't help anybody else. If I'm not thriving, I can't help my wife, my family, build the new house that we're building, all those different
employees,
things.
Staff members, vendors,
churches, communities, foundations, parents, children, whatever. If you're, and you know, that's a whole broader scope of like, you know, if everybody was self-sufficient in a way that they could take care of themselves, imagine how much more free time they'd have to take care of others as well. Money, opportunity, whatever it is. And so, you know, that's why we do these things. That's why we're passionate about it. It's not, I'm passionate because I want to Scrooge McDuck and swim in a bunch of cash. Like, that's cool too, but I'm going to take that cash, I'm going to spread it around, I'm going to do things, I'm going to buy up, I'm going to build, I'm going to, whatever I'm going to do, but I'm going to entrench in my community and I'm going to build it up. Because I really believe this. A rising tide rises all ships. And quickly, Doc Walker, former Washington Redskin tight end, I used to work for him and produce his radio show in DC. And anytime any athlete would get paid, and he's a retired, you know, football player, he would say, I don't mind him getting money. If he gets money, that means there's money out there for everyone else to make. And if people don't lose sight of that, don't be mad because that guy's making money or that guy's successful or that guy's taking a risk or that guy's sees an opportunity or that guy's going out on his own. Encourage them to do better because you never know. You kick it out into the world in a positive way and it comes back tenfold. And I believe that. I really do.
I agree with that too. what he said. Like he said, he's running the show. You know, he's got more experience in this than I do. Oh. So, all right, guys. This wraps it up for us. Check us out anytime on all our social media, on our blog, hardmoneybankers.com, hashtag the REI360 show. Check us out on our podcast as well.
And recommend this show to other people, right?
I'll post some links below so you can follow us, you know, in all ways.
All facets.
And my co-host, Chris Haddon, who's not here today, hopefully will be back next week. Check you later.